Today I want to show you my go-to method when I import SVGs into eCAL 2, and this also applies to Shortcuts Lot 4. It is my preferred method of importing SVGs, but there are other methods, and I will go through a couple more after this. So for me, the easiest thing for me to do is to find my files, and this is SCS stands for Simply Crafty SVGs, and I just grabbed a couple files as examples. So we'll open up the Easter basket file folder, and in here is the PDF file with the instructions and screenshots of the pieces, as well as the picture of the final product, an example. And then if you go into SVG Files, in here you'll see the files. Now the way to pull them in is simply to drag them in. So there you go, you can see it drags in, and then I can also drag the second one in. And the reason I drag them in one at a time is maybe I want to put them on different mats, and that's usually what I do. I'll put one color on one mat and maybe other colors on another mat, or separate it out by color, but it's up to you. So let me delete those. I also want to show you that you can do multiples at once. So you can highlight both and drag them over and do it all at once. Of course, you'll have to move everything around. Put them where you want. Okay, let's one more time. One thing I want to, let's delete it from here. One thing I want to show you also is if you use eCAL 2, because you have a Sizzix eClips, then you can utilize the true scoring features within eCAL 2. That is not available in Shortcuts a lot. So in most of our SVG files, we now have a folder called Solid Score Lines. What that is anything that has a score line here will be in here with appended with solid lines. And what that means is, now I'm going to drag this in. You see the score lines are solid, they're not dashed. So you still need to bring in the other components, but at least it'll give you a nice straight, you won't have those dashed cut lines anymore, which is nice. And then you would have to bring in the second file. So that's one way to do it, and that is my preferred way. Like I said, you can do one, you can drag multiples, and again, the reminder to use the solid scoreline version if you're using eCAL. And just really quick, the reason why is when you come down here in the lower right hand corner, and I'll go to the object with the score lines to find it here. It's this one. There it is. You can come over here to the wrench and drop down and say score, and that'll just do a light touch cut, almost like a kiss cut. So, and it looks so much cleaner than a dashed line. And the reminder is that this does work, this method that I'm showing you, all these methods to import SVGs do work in Shortcuts Lot and eCAL 2. So let me take all this, and we'll start over. Let's delete it. So here's another method. I'm not a really big fan of the library, but a lot of people like to use it. So if it's not showing already, a lot of times it opens up right here in the lower right hand corner. If it's not open, you just click on the library at the top. It'll reopen it. So another way is basically to add a shortcut. You can add the files directly too, but I'm not going to go over every method. But here's my other method I've used. I'm going to add a shortcut to existing folder on my hard drive, because I like to store them and organize them independently of Shortcuts a Lot or eCAL 2. So we go ahead and hit this plus folder sign, add folder. And then I want to say a shortcut to an existing folder on my computer. And you can name it, but I'm just going to take the existing name. I'm going to click choose folder, and I added one just for the purposes of this video, and the same folder we were just working out of. I'm going to click OK. So that what it's going to do is create a link to that folder. So if I add or remove anything in there, it'll be up to date. And then click OK. The caveat to using this particular method is that if you update anything while it's open, while the actual application's open, you'll have to refresh it. And even on the very first time, you see there's no plus sign. There's plus signs next to these on other folders. But in order to get that to update, I have to hit this little refresh button. Once it refreshes, it'll show all the SVG files that we saw before. So if you had eCal closed and made changes to the files in between, it would update automatically here. But while you're in eCal or Shortcuts a lot and you add or remove anything, you have to hit that little refresh up here. So I'm just going to, now you can see it has a little plus sign. Now you can see those SVG files that we saw before. So the difference is, I'm going to just open up the Easter Bunny one here. And you don't see all those other files that I showed you before. But I click on the SVG files. And then they're right there. So all you do is left click once and it brings it in. And left click once and it brings it in. So you could do it on different, like normally I would do it on a different page because I like to situate my pages. So I just click on that. Then I'd have my entire file in here and then I could save it. So that's the second method I've used. Now the third method, so let me close this. The third method I'm going to discuss, it's not optimal to me, but I'm going to show it to you. So if I go File, Import, and again go to the same folders we've been working with, I'm going to try a different file. Navigate to the SVG files, and I click one item. Problem is you can only bring one SVG at a time. That's why I like the first method. I can put multiples and I can do it really easy. The drag and drop is very fast. But a lot of people might want to do this and go on to the second page and go File Import or Import right here. It's another way to get to File Import. Go to Elements and then you just continue until you get all the pieces in. If you wanted to resize a file, you want to do it on the same page, but I'm just showing you methods of how I bring them in. I usually cut them at the size they are, and if I know I'm going to resize them, I'll put them all on one page and then size them and then split them up. So those are the three ways that I've brought files into eCal and Shortcuts a lot for. So I hope you found this helpful, and thank you so much for watching.